If I had to sum up the 2025 Oscars in one sentence, it would be that it was the least woke Oscars in at least a decade. Conan O'Brien was the perfect host with wit, charm, humor, and free of politics. He made a very touching monologue at the end, a plea to middle America to not give up on Hollywood.
Yes, we will honor many beautiful and talented A-list stars, but the Oscars also shines a light on an incredible community of people you will never see. Craftspeople, artisans, technicians, costumers.
It was a very touching, almost nostalgic nod to the days when Oscars were about movies and not about political lectures. For years, Hollywood acceptance speeches have been occasions for actors to jump up on their political soapboxes, from the days of Marlon Brando sending Sachi Littlefeather to excoriate America for colonialism, to Vanessa Redgrave's anti-Zionism speech. Hollywood has always involved this political tone to acceptance speeches, but it's only gotten worse. I remember Quentin Tarantino advocating vigorously for Oldboy in 2003 to get the Palme d'Or, but the Cannes jury decided to give the Palme d'Or to Michael Moore for Fahrenheit 9/11.
The jury is proud to award the Palme d'Or this year for the Cannes Film Festival to Fahrenheit 9/11.
As a protest vote against George W. Bush and the Iraq War.
Shame on you, Mr. Bush! Shame on you!
That just shows how long this rot has gotten in Hollywood, 20 years of putting politics over art.
I'm sick and tired of people exploiting the occasion of the Academy Awards. Winning an Academy Award is not a pivotal moment in history, does not require a proclamation, and a simple thank you would have sufficed.
Most Americans are tired of the lecturing and virtue signaling that emanates from Hollywood and the far left ideology that comes from California, and it's no surprise that they see Hollywood and Oscars as a jumped-up talent show where the popular kids scold everybody else. It's no wonder that ratings have plummeted, movie theater attendance is an all-time low, and people generally talk about the Oscars the next day as, did you see that movie? I didn't see that movie. Did we see any of those movies? No. Which is a far cry from the 90s when most of the top Best Picture winners were movies that were very popular at the box office. Part of this shift in how the Academy votes on movies is because of how Academy membership has been expanded. It's much more international now. It's twice the size that it used to be. And it's due to political criticism that the Academy voters were too old, too rich, and too white. And that expansion has led to more films that most people in America and generally most audiences haven't seen. After all, how many Americans have seen Anora, Flow, or even the Best Foreign Picture nominee, I'm Still Here? Instead of a celebration of cinema taking center stage, the Oscars have become more about celebrities basking in the limelight, the expensive gift bags, red carpet controversies. It's completely drowned out the actual thing that the Oscars is about, which is about awarding people who are artists and awarding good movies. And the hosts haven't helped either. I mean, not just Jimmy Kimmel, but the other hosts who have been actors. They're afraid to take shots at Hollywood. They're afraid to make fun of the people in the audience because they're their friends, or they may lose out on projects if they go with a joke that's too far. And again, Conan, perfect host last night because he did take a jab at Hollywood. He did make fun of people in the audience. He did make fun of movies. For once, Hollywood was the butt of the joke, not the rest of America. Thanks to the Republican victory in November, it does seem like many corporations and celebrities are tamping down on their political virtue signaling or grandstanding, but that hasn't completely stopped people. Jane Fonda gave a very anti-Trump speech at the SAG Awards. Lily Gladstone also called out Trump for attacking DEI policies. Thankfully, there was none of that grandstanding at the Oscars. No one said Trump. No one made a larger political point. There were some people who were talking about certain things in very vague ways, but nobody went out on a soapbox. Even the biggest controversy of the night, Carla Sofia Gascon's tweets, completely deflated by Conan O'Brien's humor in 2 jokes.
Little fact for you, Nora uses the F word 479 times. That's 3 more than the record set by Carla Sofia Gascon's publicist.
There were audible gasps from the audience, but it completely deflated, the tension in the room at that moment. And it allowed her to get the limelight that she probably deserved because she was nominated for an Oscar, but people in Hollywood did want to move on from that. So it showed that even in Hollywood, people wanted to laugh, people wanted to have fun, they wanted to enjoy that night and not have to worry about what they'd be seen, laughing at or gasping at. Arguably, the biggest moment of the night was a celebration of independent cinema and awarding independent filmmakers. Sean Baker, the director of Anora, walked away with 4 Oscars, the most any person has ever gotten for one film. It was a complete win for the scrappy underdogs of Hollywood who make films with shoestring budgets. I believe Anora was made for about close to $6 million. Adrian Brody, winning for The Brutalist, was made for $10 million. Zoe Saldana's movie, Emilia Perez, was made with $26 million, but that's not a lot considering these days most big-budget Hollywood films start at $100 million. Flow, a movie that was made on open source software, made for about $3 million, I believe, won the Best Animated Feature, which was a complete, out of the blue victory. People were thinking it would go to people like Chris Sanders for The Wild Robot or other movies, but Flow took the award, and what a great victory for independent filmmakers throughout the major award categories. Streaming giant Netflix was nominated for 18 Oscars. It went home with about 3. Neon, which was the studio that distributed Anora, went home with 5 Oscars. I believe it also took the Oscar for Best Screenplay. So again, a major victory for the underdogs. I know Netflix isn't an underdog technically, but a major victory for people who are new to the Hollywood scene, and kind of shows that Hollywood can accept new players. It's not just about the old studios. Although Netflix has yet to break the barrier of Best Picture. So we'll see if that continues for the next year. Speaking of people getting on their soapboxes, Adrian Brody's speech, which was kind of a rambling speech and was the longest acceptance speech in Oscar history, was really just about positivity and making sure that people think about historical traumas and oppression. I mean, he talked a lot about a lot of different things, but again, it wasn't something toxic or nasty. He wasn't taking shots at anybody. He kept it vague and talked about his art, his family, thanked some people. So it was a moment where he could have used it to be very negative, but he decided to stay positive, and I think that's a good thing. Sean Baker, great opportunity. He had 4 acceptance speeches that he had to give, and he used one of them to talk about the theatrical release, to advocate for more people going into the movie theater, more people, getting into independent cinema, and advocating for things that Hollywood actually cares about, that matter to the industry as a whole.
This is my battle cry. Filmmakers, keep making films for the big screen. I know I will.
Hollywood is bleeding money. They're bleeding, viewers. They're bleeding, people aren't going to movie theaters anymore. So, that was the guy who won Best Picture and Best Director, using that as an opportunity to talk about, hey, let's go see more movies and let's go put more, butts and seats in the movie theaters. That's a good thing for us. That's a good thing for the industry. And that's coming from somebody who's an independent filmmaker, not somebody who's got hundreds of millions of dollars on the line. So perfect, setting the tone, setting the note for, the future of what Hollywood can be and what people should be using their soapboxes for. Great marks all around. Of course, not everything was perfect. I'm a fan of Hans Zimmer. I'm a Hans Zimmer stan. I've gone and seen him in concert. Hans Zimmer absolutely deserved an Oscar for Dune 2. I don't care what the criteria were. I don't care how repetitive or reused the score was. Hollywood has always had this weird relationship with Hans Zimmer, who is a composer, but he composes a lot of his scores using electronic machines and sort of reuses sounds and noises that he's recorded or that he's used before. And so Hollywood has always kind of kept him at a distance, even though he's composed some of the greatest scores ever made. I believe he has 2 Oscars now because he won for Prince of Egypt and for Dune 1. But apart from that, Hollywood tends to ignore Mr. Zimmer, which is not a good thing in my opinion. The guy deserves many more Oscars than he's already gotten, and I hope he will continue to be nominated in the future and win some more Oscars. Flo won and deserved to win probably, but I'm again a fan of Chris Sanders. He made Lilo and Stitch. He made How to Train Your Dragon. He made The Wild Robot for this year. I think the man deserves an Oscar. He is one of the few non-Disney filmmakers out there, apart from the Lilo and Stitch movie that he made, which is also getting a live action release. And How to Train Your Dragon is also getting a live action release. And yet Hollywood doesn't want to seem to give this guy his due. He absolutely deserves an Oscar in the future. I hope he continues to make animated films and continues to innovate in that art form. In terms of acting losses, Demi Moore probably should have won, but look, it's one of those things. These categories are always going to be argued about. There are many, many actors who don't deserve to win, who won, and many, many actors who deserve to win but haven't won. Demi Moore and Angela Bassett would be two of my favorite people who have been nominated many times, or nominated at least once or twice, who have not won, who deserve to win an Oscar. I hope they at least get a, honorary Oscar in the future, if not more. I mean, I hope Demi Moore continues to show more of her range. I mean, she was amazing in The Substance. And same with Timothée Chalamet. I mean, the guy is not even 30, and he has been in 7 Best Picture nominees. I mean, what a crazy career he's had already. He will most likely win an Oscar in the future, but yeah, those were probably the 2 biggest acting disappointments. It seems like a lot of the MAGA, Republican online right people are focusing on the Oscars DEI criteria, which fine, that's understandable. We that may change, that may not change, but it's kind of not the best way to go about it. If you're talking about the movie Reagan, look, Dennis Quaid's a great actor, but Reagan as a movie, and saying that, Reagan deserved to be nominated for the Oscars, or that it was turned down for a nomination because it was an all-white movie, or didn't fit the DEI criteria that Hollywood has, just not a good movie. I'm sorry, like it didn't deserve to be on that stage. Maybe there are going to be future filmmakers who are conservative in nature. I mean, people are calling out Sean Baker for being a conservative filmmaker because of the tone and because of the story of Anora. And then you have people on the right calling him a porno filmmaker because of the sex scenes in the movie. So you can never win. You can never win in the online fights. Look, hopefully in the future, Hollywood will be more accepting of people on the right, but we may never know. That may or may not happen. That does not mean that people shouldn't continue to innovate and continue to make movies and content that will appeal to people. Reagan, not that artistic, in my opinion. The question of whether the Oscars matter has been floating around for years. People say that almost every decade. But as long as film continues to be an art form, it continues to be an American art form, which it really is, the Oscars will hold cultural significance in America and around the world. When Hollywood gets things right, the Oscars are a magical ceremony to watch and enjoy. And maybe the humor and humility that we saw from the attendees and from the MC are the magic key to holding the Oscars relevant and culturally significant in the years to come.